Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So today's video, I'm going to be giving my reasons why I think PvP should be eliminated from the Division 2. I'm just joking. Calm down. The video is titled that way to attract PvP players to see the video, and a lot of my PvP content creators as well. I got the idea of the thumbnail from one of my audience members who communicated on my last video saying eliminate PvP. So I took a screenshot here just to show you guys, and I was like, whoa, that's a very strong statement. But I don't think PvP should be eliminated. I think instead there's a way to be able to create a balance that will make it fun for all players, and it will make it easier on the developer. So if you're a developer, you're watching this, I don't see any reason why this should not be something that's implemented in this game, because it will save you guys a lot of heartache. Now, I'm going to use Mortal Kombat 11 because that is the game that I PvP in. Let's do some comparison. On Steam, I have 616 hours of Mortal Kombat 11 played. On PlayStation 4, I have a total on both my accounts 150 hours. Compared that to my Division 2 stats on this account, I have 704 hours. And then on my other account, I have about 100 and something hours. So about 800 hours in the Division, close to 800 hours on Mortal Kombat 11. And so basically my Division time is pure PvE. I've basically killed maybe 2 rogues, whereas in Mortal Kombat it's purely PvP. But there are some things that I've seen from MK11's PvP that I think we can use in the Division. And even though it's like comparing apples to pineapples, there's still value to be seen in how they do their balancing in this game and how we do ours. So one thing about Mortal Kombat 11, when you get in there, this is going to be demonetized. I'm going to see fighting. Get this off my screen. Yeah. All right. The moment you get into Mortal Kombat 11 and you go into, the fight mode, you can fight local PvE, you can do all kinds of PvE activities, you can go do towers, you can farm gear, augments, and all that stuff. I know, it's crazy, innit? But then when you want to go into the PvP side of things, this is where they've done a good job to kind of separate a lot of parameters. You can do competitive ranked, where, you rank and all that stuff, and, every single character that you're using here has pre-built variations. They're built by the developers and balanced there, and you can only use them in competitive mode. And so that's exactly where balancing actually works with this game. If you look at something like Conflict, everybody jumps in there with the gear that they already have. Well, that kind of still puts things arbitrarily, because in the regular DZ, you can use whatever builds you want. And now here in Mortal Kombat, if you go to casual mode versus, you can use whatever builds you want to use. King of the Hill, you can do competitive, or whatever. AI only, you can use a build. You can take your build and build your character to fight against the AI and farm gear. There's AI specific only gear that you can get. That means your AI pitted against another person's AI to farm to fight to the death and get whatever gear. And even in versus mode, you can turn on the competitive variations. That's all. And let me show you what these variations are. If you do not know, the variations are basically where you can take a character and you can build that character how you want and to your preference, and you can take them into PvP, but only under the casual or, just maybe playing versus another person mode. So I'll take my main here, Kotal Khan. This is the player that I play mainly. And he has altogether 5 variations pre-built, but I can go in and create a brand new variation. If I wanted to, let me see, I think I may have filled up all the slots. My gosh, crazy. Let's just use this one, number 3, Ascension, and then we'll go into it. And Ascension is already a pre-built, variation. If I go into his abilities, I can use a preset. The presets here, see them? These 3, 1, 2, 3, are pre-built for competitive. I can just take it and put it on, and I can take it into casual mode or whatever. It will follow those rules. Or I can use some of them that have been, suggested by the developers. Developers make, a build, preset and say, hey, you can try these for us. If I don't want to, I can build mine. If I wanted to build my own, I can go ahead and start a whole new ability and then build it and put it together and make it mine by adding these moves to these slots that I want. So I can take this slot and I can remove this item from the slot, and then I can put whatever I want there. Now, there will be overlap as well. So let's go back to that. Let's just say, let me see, Ascension. Let's go back to Ascension and say, I go and I want to put the ability here. I have my Grand Discus. I can add that here. Or let's just use a preset. Let's use a preset here, True Con. Okay, so he's got 2 totems, and let's say I try to add a totem or something to this and modify it. it's not going to let me do it because you see, if you notice, it's saying no conflicts, can equip a max of 2 totems. So if I try to add a third totem, it's not going to let me do it. But a third totem is going to make this guy literally very powerful because this totem here allows me to increase his gauge, my gauge regeneration. This totem helps me absorb my opponent to heal me. And then if I add a third totem, there's a totem that can actually increase my damage done. There's another totem that can increase my damage that I'm taking in. This is where the RPG side of Mortal Kombat 11 shines. And the reason there are conflicts is also because RPG rules also follow one another. If you look at my Eagle Bear here, I cannot don another exotic weapon because there's a limit, and that's what they're probably trying to get at. I can't put my, Imperial Dynasty holster because there's a limit. Now, if you look at this, it makes balancing easy because the developers actually can come in and like beam a specific move and actually balance that move, nerf it or buff it. Example that they did was a big one with Raiden. Now, I know this is Mortal Kombat stuff, comparing apples to, to oranges, but please bear with me. If you go into Raiden's abilities, Raiden had basically one of the fastest moves in the game. I mean, he's supposed to be like the elder god of thunder, whatever the heck the lore says he needs to be. And this move, where is it? Where's his abilities? Quick charge and quick discharge. This is quick charge right here. I guess I have to go into an ability that's already in use. Let's go to the presets, and then I'll use Raiden. Raiden has that. So Raiden has quick charge. Now, they don't show you the second side of quick charge. Quick charge has another move that's called quick discharge. It's the same button configuration that you do, and when you do it, it was the fastest move in the game, 4 frames. And so the developers went ahead and changed this and said, no, we don't want this to be the fastest move in the game, because one of the pro players picked up this variation and started doing a lot of work with it, and the developers saw how that could be a problem, and they just took that one move, that one ability, and they just tweaked it and nerfed it. And this, I think, if they did this with PvP and PvE, it'll be easy for them to go in and tune something and not break everything else, because the parameters are already set differently and are already separated. But in the Division, what we have is, if they do something like a nerf to True Patriot, they don't necessarily do too much separation from both of them, considering all the factors that might be in there. Like, for example, say, the enemy NPC damage, say, for example, the enemy NPC speed and all that stuff. And so the game goes to an imbalance. So like when they nerfed True Patriot, people were already using that in PvE before people finally got into PvP and said, oh yeah, True Patriot is bad, it's too broken. Now the True Patriot's been broken and has been fixed or whatever, the sights have now been set on Negotiator's Dilemma. And if they go ahead and take that swing to Negotiator's Dilemma, it's going to make the build, maybe even render it useless for PvE, because already it's not really working as intended in PvP, in PvE, sorry. So there's so many things that you have to look at. Let's go to practice options. I want to show you guys that move and show you how it was actually changed. And so if you look at how both games work, this game, many people, if you ask anybody that plays NRS games, they will tell you that this is one of the more balanced games that this studio has actually made, because these games are very difficult to balance, if you ask me. And let's go to the moves list, and I'll show you that moves list with Raiden. Where is it at? Is quick charge and quick discharge. There it is. Quick charge. This is it right here. Quick discharge is the same. And the frame data was actually, basically, it was changed from 4 frames to 6 frames. It used to be the fastest move in the game. And so they just went ahead and tweaked that. So coming to the Division and coming to our conversation, Negotiator's Dilemma is looking like what's getting a lot of attention from people in PvP. Now, I can understand somebody marking you and then running far away to shoot an enemy NPC, and then that deals damage to you at a farther distance. Maybe you want a distance limiter. Perhaps, maybe I can see that a problem. But to be very honest, if somebody wanted to run Negotiator's Dilemma with the marksman rifle and you have a distance limiter, then it diminishes the basis and the design of the gear set. Whereas if you say something like maybe the marks need to stay for, instead of 20 seconds, maybe they need to stay for 10 seconds, I can see reason with that. But enemy NPCs are running all over the place and hiding in cover. And if you mark an enemy NPC, or even maybe you want to try to mark an enemy NPC, they run away from you and they go sit in a heal box, and you want to damage them, and then the mark is dissipated by the time they're there, then it kind of also diminishes the build and the build becomes useless. Right now, the build is barely making it through in PvE. It may be dominant in PvP, but that is what PvP has always been about, the cheese. If they can make PvP modes that allow for people to be able to go into the dark zone with pre-built classes, the development team will have a less difficult time on their hands. And then they could also create a mode that allows for players to be able to go in there and use their builds as well. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I feel like this is going to really change the game. It will give them more sleep at night. It will give the PvP community more sleep at night. It will really make for a more balanced game. It's not going to balance the entire game, don't get me wrong, but it will make for a more balanced game. If maybe they even added a parameter where if you go to the dark zone, skills maintained a specific set of rules by itself, because most of PvP players are complaining that if you jump into the dark zone, it's the battle of the hives. People are using Stinger, Shock. But there's a BTSU glove guy on the team that's crushing those, whatever, and giving everybody skills overcharge. And then the Secret Mind melts you. And maybe you can set a mode where people go in and there are no skills allowed and it's just pure gunplay. And then there's also a mode where people can go in and battle with their hives. That way players have the opportunity to choose where they want to go in and exhibit their PvP side of things. And then you separate how these gear sets work in PvP and PvE. Sentry's Call. A gear set like this, I think the middle ground would be to take a gear set like this and then just say whenever a marked enemy dies, gain 2% critical hit damage. Or when you critically hit a marked enemy, all other marked enemies take 60% of the damage dealt in PvE. Boom. That will solve the problem. I see people saying it needs to be done 10 seconds. And I say, get your hands off this gear set. PvP players, you talk like none of us PvP in our lives, but the problem is you're giving the developers an easy way out. Not trying to castigate anybody, but I've seen this high-mindedness with some, not all, some PvP players saying you don't know anything about PvP. Somebody even told me go play Lincoln Memorial on Heroic. Come meet me in Mortal Kombat and PvP with me. Come and do the math and learn how to do frame data and compete with me on this game. I will wash you. It's just what it is. I mean, I learned this game when the Division 2 came out. Division 2 came out March. This game came out April. I sat down and I started learning the math behind a fighting game. If that is not, in your opinion, difficult enough, then I don't know what else is. It's very hard to actually come without playing a fighting game and start picking up this stuff and playing against people who came from Mortal Kombat 10 and competing against them. Bro, I was so frustrated. I lost the controller the other day because of this game. Okay, tell you how frustrating it can be to be a noob somewhere and spend 700 hours and still feel like a noob. Okay, and so I'm just sharing my opinion. I'm not trying to get into a fight or a conflict with anybody, but I think if the community came together and actually sat down and listened to one another, we would have better conversations and drive PvP to a better place. Shutting out non-PvP players from the conversation, thinking that only PvP players in the division have an opinion, it's not going to help your cause. There are more PvE players. We'll go play our mission, our Lincoln Memorial 100 times, and it will still be satisfying because the PvE game in this game is just so good when you compare it to many other games. It's just what it is. I mean, I don't play the PvE in Mortal Kombat. I played that for a little bit, did the towers and all. It just got boring. But the PvE in the Division, yes, it could be monotonous, but it's not really boring. So I think if we look at all these concepts together and look at everything that I've presented today, I think there's a case that the Division developers can take some notes from fighting games. Maybe there's another PvE game or PvP game that you know out there. I don't know any. I mean, like I said, I've shown you the 2 games I play and the amount of time invested in them. And this is where I'm getting my reference from. All right. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Peace.